please rise if you are able for the academic procession.
In the toil of thinking, in the serenity of books, in the messages of prophets, the songs of poets, and the wisdom of interpreters, in discoveries of continents of truth whose margins we may see, we delight in free minds and in their thinking. In the majesty of the moral order, in the faith that right will triumph, in the courage given us when we ally ourselves to truth in any form, in the privilege of being co-workers in good causes, we celebrate the unseen goals we share and serve. Let us build a world safe from war and oppression, free and satisfying, one that ultimately furnishes answers for all of us. Please be seated. Hello. How's it going? Are you excited? Are we like not impressed with ourselves that you've managed to go through this journey and here you are today on this special day? Pretty special. I'm pretty pumped. Looking forward to celebrating with you today. But before we do that, I just want to introduce myself to those who don't know me. Most of you down there do, but many don't. I'm Charles Falzon. I'm Dean of the Creative School at Toronto Metropolitan University. Creative School is the faculty that all these wonderful graduates have been part of. It's been their community. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the land. I'd like to acknowledge that we're celebrating on this land today here in Toronto. And Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. And that territory is a treaty, that treaty, I should say, is between the Anishinaabe, the Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share this territory and to protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. Well, graduates, here we go. This is a momentous day in your lives. It's a very special day. Parents, friends, and companions, your presence here means a great deal. Together we meet to celebrate this important benchmark in the lives of these wonderful adults who are ready to conquer the world. It is the achievement, we celebrate the achievement of a credential for sure, a really important credential from a highly respected program at TMU's Creative School. But also, we celebrate the potential of each graduate. Graduates, 4 years ago or so, when you started on this journey, the world was a very different place. 4 years ago, the name of our own faculty was different, and so was that of the university. It has indeed been a time of awakening, of change, of opening, so much newness that you've experienced. Think of it. The impact of virtual worlds and social media. Astounding, really. A new definition of what broadcasting and media consumption is. Films are no longer about cinemas alone. Media is not about TV. Photography is not about two dimensions. Fashion is a way of being and much more than clothes. Print is not just about paper. Entrepreneurship is not only about innovation and commerce, but also in society. Design is a way of thinking. 4 years ago, you didn't think that 2 years of your stay would be hybrid. Zoom, you knew about it, but it was a side tool at best, not a core. And yet, you flourished. We experienced together exciting wake-up calls, sometimes scary wake-up calls, as individuals and as a society and a community. COVID, beyond the COVID shock of the vulnerability of our health, we lived through an awakening in society and in our own selves with the spotlighting of the injustices, that spotlight that we experienced on the injustices that relate to colonialism, gender, power, as well, of course, as environmental irresponsibility. The world has been transformed. Your fields have been transformed. You have been transformed. This journey has made you strong and so uniquely ready to build the future. So today, you move from being the transformed to becoming the transformer. You are the builder. You are the healer. You are the visionary. You are the change maker. You are creative. You're part of an elite group that has been shaped by this change and are ready to lead us all to the next paradigm of society. It has been my true honor and pleasure as your dean, together with all your faculty and staff, to accompany you on this path. You're strong, you're bold, and you're ready. The future is truly creative, but more importantly, the future is yours to create. To begin this very special day, I now introduce to you the Chancellor of Toronto Metropolitan University, Janice Fukakusa.
Thank you, Charles. Graduands, I am proud and honored to speak to you today. Today is a time of very well-deserved celebrations for all of us. We share our pride in your success with everyone whose love and support has played a part in bringing you here today. Now, normally at this stage of my convocation remarks, I typically give you, the graduates, a few tips of advice for going forward. After 2 years of the pandemic, however, I think that you, the graduands, should be the ones giving the advice and not me. Graduands, you went through a remarkable experience. You endured and came through it, achieving your ultimate objective. You succeeded by facing and overcoming all the unforeseen barriers. I hope you share your experience with others and be proud of what you've achieved. In fact, be proud of the impact that you will have in everything you do in the months and the years to come. And always take the time to reflect on your own achievements. It builds the confidence essential to overcome the inevitable challenges in the years ahead. And remember, when you look back at your university experience, I encourage you to remember what you learned about yourself. That resilience gives you the means to learn from your experiences, and determination will keep you focused on your dreams. After all, you have all really proven that you have the talent to succeed. On this special day of celebration, let me close by offering my congratulations and best wishes for your journey ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor Fukakusa. Now it's my pleasure to welcome the university's President and Vice Chancellor, the one and only Mohamed Lashami.
Thank you, Dean. Welcome to our graduates, family and friends, colleagues from across the university and beyond. Class of 2022, this is an important day for you, and you have our warmest congratulations. You graduate at a milestone moment in history. Despite the challenges brought on by the pandemic, you remain committed to your studies, kept connected to your classes, and served your community in more ways than I can mention here. A milestone also because your graduating year will be forever linked to our historic name change. What has not changed from the moment you choose to study here to the moment you cross this stage to accept your award are the values that define our university. And when you return as alumni, you will feel right at home all the time. Class of 2022, the first graduating class of Toronto Metropolitan University, you helped shape this place. Now both you and the university look ahead to a new chapter and bright future, a future of promise and optimism, better prepared than ever to meet the challenges and opportunities ahead. This is your time. You have what the world is looking for: talent, energy, and new ideas. Your years here have prepared you for this moment. We are so very glad that you choose this university, that you immerse yourself in our community. I hope you are feeling grateful for each other, for the good friends who shared your university experience and are now friends for life. Which brings us full circle. While we may find success as individuals, as a society, we depend on each other. We need loved ones, and you have many today with you. We need colleagues and community. In French, you know, we never say goodbye. Instead, we say au revoir, which literally means until we see you again. Enjoy your very special day and stay close to your alma mater. For together, we will shape the future. Thank you very much, and I invite you now to please enjoy a short video.
Today marks a momentous moment in the story of your life. Just a few years ago, you began a new chapter. For some, that meant moving to a new city. For many, that meant discovering new perspectives. And for all, that meant opening your mind to new possibilities. Along the way, you were met with challenges unfamiliar to those who came before you and to those who follow. you embraced the responsibility of learning and unlearning, inspired by the people and places that played a part. Together, we evolved. While this chapter comes to a close, your story continues. Tomorrow, you'll remember this moment, not for who you were, but for who you have become. Today, we'll celebrate the diversity of your experience, your commitment to shaping a better future, and your part in our story. As the first graduating class of Toronto Metropolitan University.
Chancellor Fukakusa, President Lashemi, Provost Simpson, esteemed colleagues and representatives who join us on stage, members of the graduating class, family members, and friends, honored guests. It is my great privilege to deliver the citation for Michael Clemens, upon whom Toronto Metropolitan University is conferring the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa, our highest award. Michael Pinball Clemens has been an integral part of our city since the day he came here 33 years ago to play for the Toronto Argos. He is indeed a football legend, and we honor his achievements as a professional athlete. But he has also earned a distinct and singular role in our city as a community leader, an influencer, a motivator, and a change maker. The source of his many attributes, he says, is his mother. And he remembers the moment when he learned the lesson that would define his future. He was 11 years old, playing in a youth football game in his home of Dunedin, Florida. Though he had run for 4 touchdowns in the game, the coach took him out in the first half. His mother saw him moping on the sidelines, and she went over to see him. She said, "Son, every week your teammates cheer for you, and you come out of the game after doing so well, and you're here pouting. If you don't turn around and become the biggest cheerleader in the stadium, this is the last football game for you." Ever since that moment, he says, he has been the biggest cheerleader for his teammates, his community, and his city. That is, in part, the inspiration behind the Pinball Clemens Foundation. You see, the foundation provides scholarships and an extraordinary mentorship program for young people who need it most. I would be remiss in describing Michael Clemens without providing you a sense of his personal accomplishments. He gained fame as an athlete, but he was a champion in the classroom too. On the basis of his grades alone, he was offered admission to Harvard University. However, Harvard didn't award athletic scholarships, so he accepted a football scholarship to the College of William and Mary in Virginia. He excelled on the field, and after graduation was selected in the National Football League draft. Just as importantly, he also left university with a degree in economics. He eventually found his way to Toronto and the Canadian Football League. His first coach here called him Pinball for his ability to maintain speed and balance while bouncing off bigger opponents. That name stuck. With the Argonauts, he won 4 Grey Cups as a player and head coach, held the league record for yards gained, and was inducted into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. His professional and community work has given him a second championship legacy. In addition to his foundation, he also works with the Free the Children initiative to build schools and clean water systems in Africa. Other connections include Big Brother's Speed Olympics, the Salvation Army, and the Canadian Cancer Society. He visits schools and children's hospital across the country and is much in demand as a motivational speaker. So no pressure there, Mr. Clemens, in your talk. Michael Clemens, for being a relentless cheerleader for our youth and our society, we celebrate and honor you today. I would now like to call Chancellor Fukakusa, President Lashami, and Michael Clemens to the podium for the conferring of the degree.
Toronto Metropolitan University, by virtue of the authority granted by the Province of Ontario under the University Act, has awarded the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa with all the rights, privileges attended thereon to Michael Clemens.
Well, good afternoon. I'd like to first say it's an honor not to be honored, but to have the honor to address you today, our class of 2022. Would you give them a big round of applause? Now, if you don't mind, we're going to do it in a, well, more organized way. When I say clap, can I get everybody to clap, but just one time together? So when I say clap, everybody claps, but just once together. Here we go. Ready? Clap. Oh, very good. Again, clap, 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 clap. The paradox of our time in history is that we have taller buildings but shorter tempers, wider freeways but narrower viewpoints. We spend more but have less. We buy more but enjoy it less. We're bigger houses and smaller families, more conveniences but less time, more degrees but less sense, more knowledge but less judgment, more experts but more problems. We drink too much, smoke too much, spend too recklessly, laugh too little, drive too fast, get too angry too quickly, stay up too late, get up too tired, and read too seldom. A little bit of I lost myself there. Sorry. And as this poem goes on and on and on, it finishes like this. I look forward to the day when we smile, when we have low batteries, because it's only then we will be one bar closer to humanity. I want to say very quickly today, one is that we're better together. That's why we did the clap. That's why we did it together. We are better together. Make the habit of building bridges, not fences. I am a little bit averse to this honor because I don't deserve it. And I tell you why. I grew up to a single parent in the projects, and my mom was only 18 when she had me. She understood that she made a mistake, and she said that I won't multiply that. Her mom died at 5. Her grandmother died at 7. She was raised by her great-grandmother, my great-great-grandmother, who went blind around the time I was born. And so at 18 years old, not only did she have to take care of me as a single parent, she also had to take care of the person who had raised her. But she didn't make excuses. She knew excuses are just like belly buttons. Everyone's got one and none of them are any good, guys. So instead of making excuses, right, she prioritized school. I could always run. When I was 11 years old, as he mentioned, I also got my jersey retired at a local restaurant. I could always run. I was always a coward, right? But she prioritized education. From Florida, I hadn't seen her in over 2 years. She's here today. Mm-hmm. I would ask her if she wouldn't mind standing. Would you give her a round of applause if you stand? I think, is it there? As you can see in my diminutive stature, not very big, and I was told I was going to be too small everywhere. And as was mentioned, I ended up playing in the NFL a year before coming to Canada, and I ran for more yards ultimately than any player in pro football history. As I mentioned to you, though, that all that makes me is a glorified coward. For 12 years, I ran from people for a living. That was my job, right? So I want to say this is... what you accomplish is going to be really important. But what I believe is more important is how you deal with adversity. Is going to be how you deal with the challenge. Challenge, adversity in life is guaranteed. You know what it means not to have adversity? Yeah, you're dead. So it's better than the alternative. But how you deal, how you respond, I like to call it respondability, how you respond. So when we talk about all the fun stuff, all the records and awards, well, who I am is very simple. That stuff is what I did. Who I am is the husband of Diane. That's my bride who I live to serve. We've been together for 38 years, married for 30 years last week, yes. And I live to serve her. Not only that, I'm the father of Rachel, Raven, and Riley. Those are my 3 little girls. And as I mentioned that to you, I just want to just remind you, life is not about stuff. It's about people. Winston Churchill said, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. I want to encourage you students to understand that it's more about what you go through. That beautiful wife of mine that I just mentioned is also in the back there. I won't ask her to stand, but we've experienced quite a bit of adversity. People always talk about the fun stuff, the awards, but her father was shot and killed when she was only 18 years old. Her sister, one of her 5 sisters died at 37 years old of cancer. When you get married, you inherit a mother-in-law. You don't get your choice. And I got the best mother-in-law in the history of mother-in-laws. She died too young as well. See, we've gone through a lot, and you say, well, why this is so heavy, right? Because our success is not in the trinkets that we develop, but how we progress, how we move through challenges. That is the power, that is the strength. You say, well, where is the power in your father-in-law's death? We carry on his crooked smile. Yeah, his smile kind of twisted like that. It's really unique. Her sister, well, we brought her oldest son up to Canada, and he graduated from high school here, and he also graduated from college here. He and his wife, who are a professor, now live with their 3 kids in Connecticut. That's how we smile. And her mom, we still carry her heart. One of the sweetest people I've ever known. So the heart of a champion is not just about what you've won or what you've done. It's an attitude. It's a way of life. It's how you live and what you stand for. It's the foundation for your whole life and existence. The heart of a champion is not just something you have. It's something you are. Young people, I want to let you know that it's not all the stuff that you get. It's not all the stuff that you achieve. It's who you are. And when you are that, you will excel. You will achieve more than you expect. If I can close here, I maybe just like to offer a little story here. And it was about young people of a different era. It was the Egyptian custom when you graduated the equivalent of university, that after you finish all of your organized courses, you would have to fool a wise man in a riddle. The point here was that you can study the books, but how do you apply that as practical knowledge? And there was a group of young guys, and you know, we guys are, well, we're a little full of ourselves, right? I mean, it's part of it. I had the same disease, right? When you're young, you think you can do it. And they actually went through the curriculum faster than anyone else had ever had. But they had problems trying to fool the wise man. And one day they found the perfect example. They said he couldn't be right. They came and they gathered in the hall. It says, wise man, we got you this time. Wise man, tell me, is this chicken dead or alive? You see, what happened is they had a chicken in their hands. And it sounds a little cruel, right? A little gruesome. But if he said the chicken was alive, they were going to break the chicken's neck right in their hand. But if he said that the chicken was dead, then they wouldn't harm the chicken at all. And so now it was foolproof. They had him. So again, they said, wise man, tell me, is this chicken dead or alive? The wise man said very simply, my son, the decision is in your hands. Class of 2022, I want to let you know there is nothing that you cannot get through. There's no obstacle that you cannot tackle. And the decision is in your hands. As a little metaphor of that decision being in your hands, I'm going to say clap one more time. And this time when I clap, I want everybody to stand, right? Clap, cheer, right? No, this is not a corny way of getting a standing ovation. No. Yeah. This is about you, our graduates. We are so fundamentally proud of you and who you are. And so with that, I'm going to ask the whole arena to stand and cheer and show their appreciation. Not quite yet. Yeah. When I say clap, you stand, cheer, and we want to exalt you, our graduates. I'm so glad I had an opportunity to come and share with you today. When I say clap, and I don't stop clapping until the next person comes to take the stage, okay? Thank you so much for having me. Here we go. Ready? Clap!
Can they sit now, Michael? Wow. Thank you, Dr. Clemens. Thank you so much for giving us that glimpse into the heart of a champion. That was absolutely amazing. Thank you. One more applause for amazing. I must say, though, that when I took this role on as the MC, nobody told me that I would have to come up after Pinball Clemens, and I just don't know how you follow that with anything, because that was actually really something you want to reflect on, and I'm sure we are going to for the rest of the day and for the days ahead. So thank you again. So I think we'll just go to business, okay? Should we get started? Are we ready? Are we ready to rock and roll? Are we ready to be us? Are we going to do this? Are we going to just cherish this moment when you're walking and doing your thing across this stage, and a moment that you're going to remember for the rest of your lives? I have been asked to request something, and for those of you who know me, you know how much I like instructions, but you're supposed to hold your applause until all graduates have crossed the stage. Right, that's going to happen, right? We are the creative school, so do whatever you want to do, but keep moving along. I mean, I think that spontaneous outbursts of joy and enthusiasm, and maybe from the family and friends a little bit of outburst of relief, those are all part of the celebration. So be yourselves. I do have a bit of serious business though to ask you. I know, just in case, some of you were considering that after you pick up your degree or you're honored up here, that you would leave. Just forget about doing that, okay? Please don't, because it really is a community event. I think we all are here celebrating all of us together, so I would really appreciate it if, on behalf of everybody, all of you, to just stay here to the end, unless you absolutely have to leave for some reason, okay? Okay, so now I ask to come forward, and I thank in advance the Registrar of Toronto Metropolitan University, Robin Parr.
Thank you. Will the graduates rise one last time for me? Chancellor Fukakusa, President Lashmi, Provost Simpson, honored guests, faculty members, staff, families, and friends of the graduands. I have the honor and pleasure to present graduands from Toronto Metropolitan University's Creative School. Our graduands, including all those who are joining us for today's ceremony, as well as those unable to attend who are graduating in absentia. I certify that each has met the academic requirements for the awards they are about to receive, and that each has been duly approved by the University Senate. My congratulations to each of you. You can be seated.
Madam Chancellor, I have the honor to present candidates for the undergraduate degrees in the Creative School. Bachelor of Arts, Creative Industries. Christina Armanius, with distinction. Elise Armstrong-Pert, with distinction. Romy Arsenault, with distinction. Amani Atra. Justine Jan Benico, with distinction. Marie Blanche Bertrand, with distinction. Julia Bianchi, with distinction. Kaylee Bisgold, with distinction. Nicole Bittencourt Coelho. Hannah Bowles, with distinction. Joanne Bouygues, with distinction. Laura Caporale, with distinction. Fabiana Caraballo, with distinction. Rachel Caria, with distinction. Emily Chambers, with distinction. Christy Chan, with distinction. Shimin Chen. Yanyu Vesta Choi, with distinction. Holly Clemens. Sarina Colarossi, with distinction. Daniela Corcoran, with distinction. Isabel Darling, with distinction. Jordan Davis, with distinction. Karen DeClaire, with distinction. Sydney Devine, with distinction. Amber Dror, with distinction. Parker Ducharme, with distinction. Braden Ethier. James Fitt. Cedric Gardner, with distinction. Jeremy Gertzima, with distinction. Gabrielle Geronimo, with distinction. Melissa Grongard. Laura Guida. Violet Hone, with distinction. Christina Hunt. Maho Irie, with distinction. Nagin Jazayari, with distinction. Yi Jiang. Vernon Khan. Agasha Kankunda, with distinction. Nipuni Kurupu Mudian Salage, with distinction. Daisy Langstead, with distinction. Anne Lei. Han So Lee, with distinction. Wei Jing Lu. Cindy Lee, with distinction. Rose Magdenberg, with distinction. Mackenzie Manabat. Marley Mandel, with distinction. Kathy Martinez, with distinction. Elizabeth Maxwell Turansky, with distinction. Caitlin McDonald, with distinction. Sophie Moreau, with distinction. Melanie Morton, with distinction. Paige Paletsikas. Catherine Mulligan, with distinction. Avril Moore, with distinction. Alexis Nardi, with distinction. Gabriela Noga, with distinction. Hannah O. John Davy Paxisian. Michelle Parlevleet, with distinction. Madeline Pelly, with distinction. Kaylee Pike, Jacqueline Pimentel, Corey Pittman, Jillian Pollock with distinction, Isabella Puzzo with distinction, Damira Rakhmetova with distinction, Gauri Rampal, Kelsey Rankin, Melissa Riccio with distinction, Jennifer Ross with distinction, Danielle Shuck, Carrie-Ann Shakes, Sydney Schilling with distinction, Jesse Sloyer with distinction, Ryan Smith with distinction, Matthew Sachanowski with distinction, Rachel Struthers with distinction, Nicole Van Zutphen with distinction, Emma Vecchiarelli, Rachel Wong with distinction, Chi Ian Wong with distinction, Catherine Woods with distinction, Olivia Yang with distinction, Alice Yao with distinction, Bachelor of Design, Fashion Communication, Helia Abbaszadeh, Zara Abdulvand with distinction, Paige Atkinson, Zalina Aziz, Nadine Badrin, Priscille Cabral, Samantha Cass with distinction, Melanie Chow with distinction, Chelsea Chung, Yuan Shan Ding, Daniela Dobrich, Jalen Fairclough, who is being congratulated on stage by his father, Craig Fairclough, from the School of Occupational and Public Health. Nevi Gayton, Allison Grant, Abigail Grimston with distinction, Monica Hang, Adriana Hill with distinction, Sylvia Hong, Danica Hooper, Maya Johal, Taeyeon Kang, Milica Kovacevic with distinction, Erica Lascala, Tu Yan Lee with distinction, Vanessa Lapani, Hannah Lopez, Shay Lins with distinction, Nikki McEwen, Narishtat Maraj with distinction, Monica Morano, Stephanie Chung. Steve Wynn. Lindsay Patterson with distinction. Farishte Pavri with distinction. Christine Petrakis. Cameron Pinto. Cleo Reynolds. Shamim Sadeghi with distinction. Sarah Samkowski with distinction. Yiming Sun. Jaden San with distinction. Mia Vosberg with distinction. Jaeying Wang. Ashton Williams with distinction. Noor Zaid Kilani. Bachelor of Design, Fashion Design. Arusha Adnan. Luke Bakaich with distinction. Sarah Brumwell. Casey Chan. Chiayu Chen with distinction. Arushi Chopra with distinction. Bianca de los Reyes with distinction. Juliana de Martin with distinction. Nathaniel Doody. Zarmine Ilahi. Amelia Ferguson with distinction. Jessica Fox with distinction. Alice Fu. Theodore Fu. Sarah Galucci. Tanya Gligorich. Natalie Gregor with distinction. Sarah He with distinction. Junshu Hu with distinction. Gabrielle Hubert with distinction. Anna Maria Yorga with distinction. Alexandra Kent. Musawar Malik. Karina Marcogliese. Curtis Matisak. Prudence Mekonge Ekwele. Karine Ing. Melvin Obrig. Jasmeet Ratan, who is being congratulated on stage by their sister, Simran. Havana Rodriguez Castro. Neha Sharma. Jingjia Yu. Winnie Zhao with distinction. Bachelor of Technology, Graphic Communications Management. Ahmed Abdul. Nicholas Altomare with distinction. Sorush Amirostova. Amanda Arone with distinction. Lauren Balatbat with distinction. Juliana Bellamy with distinction. Bryant Bennett. Anushka Bardwaj. Addison Bona with distinction. Lean Baker with distinction. Catherine Buscay with distinction. Jeffrey Brady. Lara Denise Capistrano with distinction. Catherine Kaylin Chow with distinction. Melissa Chow. Amy Chow with distinction. Kevin Kondo with distinction. Shelby Cooper with distinction. Isabel Cronin with distinction. Anna Dang. Elian Kobe de Guzman with distinction. Serena DeSantis. Danielle Kate De Vera with distinction. Harrison Darling Borham with distinction. Lindsay Esnor with distinction. Nathan Martin Evangelista with distinction. Lorena Flora with distinction. Allison Gagilomo. Cameron Garside with distinction. Kaylin Bulcharan with distinction. Courtney Paige Gutang. Hasti Hojatzadeh. Bethel Idego. Tariq Jambogus. Abby Jensen with distinction. Shail Khanna. Vasiliki Kapitanios with distinction. Zoe Karekis. Wafiq Kazi with distinction. Hiba Khan. Nicholas Klobukar. Safa Kupti. Patricia Lau with distinction. Julie Lee. Sophia Lee with distinction. Jessica Lee. Fiona Lee with distinction. Winnie Lee with distinction. Lena Lin with distinction. Linda Lin. Jason Lovendahl. Kaylee Lusky with distinction. Nancy Lee with distinction. Emily Machado. Allison McKenzie with distinction. Sachin Makan. Andrew McCuck. Kaysar Maliksi. Rayanne Dominique Malari with distinction. Hayden McGreal with distinction. Bilquis Mir with distinction. Maria Mendoza, James Metcalf with distinction, Priyanshi Mistry with distinction, Calvin Moe, Dawn Crystal Montserrat, Monica Montojo, Julia Murray, Maya Navarro with distinction, Joseph Ng, Rachel Ng with distinction, Han Nguyen, Jeremy Page, Sanjana Pandya with distinction, Eliza Papa with distinction, Anastasia Partserniak with distinction, Cassandra Pascucci with distinction, Julie Patricio, Katarina Pokrayats, Erica Punzalin with distinction, Zohal Rashid with distinction, Julius Rodrigo with distinction, Macy Santos with distinction, Kayla Shui with distinction, Siwa Shum with distinction, William Schneider with distinction, Zoe Sowero with distinction, Jimpei Song, Simona Spalacci, Zoe Statiris, Charlotte Stone, Betty Sung, Selena Tomei, Marian Tolentino with distinction, Vincent Tran, Katie Tucker with distinction, Christine Ubias, Ian Ugali with distinction, Roy Vandenberg, Eric Venegas, Prudence Villanueva with distinction, Zuha Wakar with distinction, Elise Watson, Mackenzie Wetlofer, Kelly White, Xavier Wu, Jesse Watton with distinction, Zarif Yassar, Beverly Yu, Veronica Yu with distinction, William Chi-Hong Yu Feng, Sarah Zahavi with distinction, Malvina Zarek with distinction, Ha-Ying Zhang, Kai-Wei Zhang with distinction, Isabella Zinga, Bachelor of Arts, Media Production. Jennifer Adler with distinction. Ayana Allen with distinction. Michael Alves with distinction. Elisa Amaturo. Alexandra Anderson with distinction. Christopher Armanius with distinction. Oladipupo Aziz with distinction. Emily Back with distinction. Anthony Balukas with distinction. Ram Beer with distinction. Bianca Bisada. Francis Booth with distinction. Monica Brighton with distinction. Kathleen Burgess with distinction. Kelly Bush with distinction. Samantha Candeloro Walter with distinction. Michael Chantrell with distinction. Carlitos Ronald Chen with distinction. Naomi Chen. Abigail Chevalier. Emily Ann Collins. Claudia Coppola with distinction. Audrey Crunkleton with distinction. Leila Dapupada with distinction. Chris Dia with distinction. Rochelle DeForest with distinction. Jubel de la Cruz. Luna Delicieux. Jeffrey Deng with distinction. Jacob D'Souza with distinction. Maeve de Vries with distinction. Courtney Dorrington with distinction. Matthew Ismailian with distinction. Cora Farley Smith with distinction. Sadia Fazelia with distinction. Michaela Ferrari with distinction. Serafina Fraraci with distinction. Justine Garcia. Daniel Gay. Thomas Jenga. Khadija Ghaffar with distinction. Joy Grant Khan with distinction. Valerie Guzman. Madeline Hanaka with distinction. Brooklyn Harker with distinction. Liam Hart with distinction. Shay Hayes Tyrell with distinction. Zareen Hussein with distinction. Samuel Yanicelli. Victoria Jones. Whitney Cunin with distinction. Nicholas Kern with distinction. Hee Jin Kim with distinction. Serena Knight. Jacob Krajewski with distinction. Richard Law with distinction. Zoel Labelle with distinction. Angus Lamb with distinction. Jae Woo Lee with distinction. Dalton Leone. Daniel Lindo with distinction. Paulina Loseto with distinction. Harmony McIntyre. Kelsey Mackay. Morgan McLeod with distinction. Alexander McPhee with distinction. Jody Mann with distinction. Clarissa Mancuso with distinction. Ryan Manning with distinction. Joseph Mastro Mateo with distinction. Jonathan Mata. Amanda Matsai with distinction. Jessamine McAllister with distinction. Rachel McCormick. Sarah C.T. McIntyre with distinction. Lindsay McLean with distinction. Kiara McNeely with distinction. Aviva Mursky with distinction. Minhaj Monin. Nicolina Moscati with distinction. Munara Moheta with distinction. Ben Naroditsky with distinction. Michaela O'Brien. Jordan Pollock. Beatrice Pardal Costa with distinction. Aiden Pete with distinction. Adam Palu. William Pennington with distinction. Megan Perotti with distinction. Joshua Rambaran with distinction. Thomas Rappaport. Vanessa Roach with distinction. Elsie Rotich. Malaika Sadat. Ina Saklayin. Miku Sakamoto with distinction. Andre Santos. Paisley Sears with distinction. Joseph Shamoun. Yvette Sin with distinction. Harveen Singh with distinction. Cole Smits with distinction. Sydney Schmandel. Austin Tang with distinction. Sam Ross Thor with distinction. Anna Van Duzer with distinction. Christopher Van Heeren with distinction. Andrew Vesio. Bethany Wenhei Vong with distinction. Ofer Weiss with distinction. Joshua Willick. Sabrina Wong with distinction. Aliyah Yakapin. Nikita Zhang with distinction. Bachelor of Fine Arts, Image Arts, Film Studies, Victoria Anderson Gardner. Bachelor of Fine Arts, New Media. Blessing Adarity with distinction. Levi Albert. Shiloh Bell Higgins with distinction. Xavier Benjamin. Matthew Bondi with distinction. Juan Carranza. Chun Yin Chang. Grace Comia with distinction. Laura Conforti. Sophia Correa Diaz with distinction. Ebony Ford. Cameron Hendy with distinction. Dana Higuchi with distinction. Stephanie Johnson. Priyanka Kapadia with distinction. Tatiana Karavayeva with distinction. Sohee Leon Kim with distinction. Sam Lam. Yiting Dorothy Long with distinction. Ashley Lowe's. Petrina Mo. Surabiha Muralidharan. Maida Nasir. Cheyenne Nias with distinction. Brittany Parsons with distinction. Carolina Pasos with distinction. Anita Pogorzelska with distinction. Claire Jing Chin. Faraz Razvi with distinction. Elise Rupchan. Nathan Rosenthal. Anila Saeed. Kate Shire with distinction. Woo Jin Shin. Fred Vadil. Yi Shin Yang with distinction. Christelle Yao with distinction. Jennifer Yoon.
Let's go, Jen.
Jinwei Zhang. Bachelor of Arts, Sport, Media. Peter Barosino with distinction. Camila Bolivar with distinction. Ella Bonaldi with distinction. Luke Burrows with distinction. Vanessa Catanzaro with distinction. Matthew Choi with distinction. Samantha Cleary with distinction. Quinn Collins with distinction. Liam Crothers with distinction. Eric Cruikshank with distinction. Bowen Cunningham. Kyle Cushman. Julian Donato with distinction. Jackson Farrow with distinction. Zachary Finch with distinction. Andrew Frank with distinction. Jacob Glogauer with distinction. Skylar Gonzalez. Jelani Goodridge Reed. Nigel Gubekjian with distinction. Drew Hardiman. Rain Hernandez. Daniel Janicas with distinction. Simon Kishchuk with distinction. Natasha Kistoff with distinction. Noah Levinson, who is also receiving a certificate in psychology with distinction. Jalyn Manderson with distinction. Richard Mandy. Zachary Mavrakis. Vitunjay Mohit. John Nardi with distinction. Seth Nevsky with distinction. Erica Nissen with distinction. Marissa Papa Constantino with distinction. Yeah! Justin Pierce. Kennedy Player Reed with distinction. Ethan Poe. Patricia Sahoyas. Emil Riga with distinction. Nicholas Robinson with distinction. Elizabeth Rositzen. Kayla Rosmus with distinction. Dana Ryan with distinction. Sarah Shasht. Alexander James Scott with distinction. Therese Sevilla with distinction. Jack Shapiro with distinction. Joseph Shinuda. Aiden Silliphant. Madeline Smith. Allegra Smith Harriet with distinction. Braden Sneak. Connor Somerville with distinction. Shannon Sutar with distinction. Milan Stanchu. Cole Stenwick with distinction. Stefano Supa with distinction. Hunter Surplus with distinction. Patrick Talon. Taylor Tsakoniatis. Alexandra Voinu with distinction. Lucas Walker with distinction. Kyle Watson. Keaton Walichka with distinction. Thomas West with distinction. Madam Chancellor, I have the honor to present candidates for the graduate degrees in the Creative School. Master of Arts, Fashion. Aaron Colhoun. Tian Den Houdeker. Laura Dion. Emily Duga. Benedicte Goronga. Aliyah Ann Lopez. Dante Lucen. Denisa Marginian. Jennifer Nguyen. Rehab Mohammed Patel. Sahar Zahedi. Madam Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of today's graduates.
Hello, Toronto Met grads. I'm Jen McMillan, Vice Provost students, and I'm so excited to share this moment with you. After years of hard work and great memories, you finally made it to the finish line. Congratulations on this huge accomplishment. I know you have a lot of family and friends in your corners too, people who supported you when you needed it most and who cheered you on at every milestone. Whether they are near or far, they are celebrating you today, and no doubt incredibly proud of your achievements. I hope you feel that your degree not only represents what you learned in the classroom, but how you made the most of your time here. You worked hard, tackling assignments, studying for exams, and balancing jobs, but also played hard, joining clubs, making athletics history, and becoming student leaders. While some of you might have grown up close by, many of you spent hours on a plane to get here, and that's the beauty of this place. We're a community made up of people from all around the world who found a second home at TMU. So take all of your experiences, your successes and learnings, and dive into every opportunity that lies ahead. Grow the network of friends you've built here and help one another thrive in new spaces around the world. I hope you keep getting involved, keep speaking up, and keep living out loud, because this world needs you, just as you are. Do you hear me? It needs you, and I'm so happy we could help you on your way. Congratulations again.
When I moved here to go to university, I was, this kid in this big, intimidating city, and this place just felt like home to me.
And I knew immediately, having just come from Jamaica, that that was the place for me.
I spent 3 years here. These are still the best 3 years of my life.
One of the fondest memories that I had was being here at 1, 2 in the morning. You're leaving at around 3 a.m., but it didn't matter because you were doing what you loved.
My fondest memory at the university was the day I graduated. Dr. G. Raymond Chang, our previous chancellor, was handing it off to me. I remember when I got up to that stage, I whispered over to him, "I'm Jamaican as well. I'm so proud to have you as my chancellor." And we giggled.
Interaction with meeting students from all over the world. Interaction with my instructors of the day.
My fondest memory was getting a husband.
The warmth, the camaraderie. The buildings were so friendly.
During my 8 years as president of the university, I officiated at well over 50 convocations. My fondest memory really was to see the students coming across the stage, to see their families excited with them, and to see so many of the students who are graduating be the first in their family to get a degree.
And it's all true. Yes, thank you. It's not fluff.
So, how do you feel? Is it sinking in? Are you letting it, like you're part of this club now, you're alumni. You are, man, right as of today. So there's a lot ahead of you, but you're part of this family, and it grows all the time, and I'm just so excited to see what's next in your lives. Congratulations. You can't say that word often enough today, the amount of pride we all have for you. So I want to talk now about the university's Gold Medal Award. The Gold Medal is awarded to one undergraduate student in each faculty. Nominees must have demonstrated outstanding involvement within the university, their profession, and/or the community, and also have demonstrated, of course, academic proficiency. I am pleased to announce that Graphic Communication Management graduate Allison McKenzie is the recipient of the Gold Medal for the Creative School. Allison has been engaged from her very first year at Toronto Metropolitan University. She's an excellent student, a resourceful teaching assistant, a generous community member, and an active leader both in and out of the classroom. Allison's most notable contributions are centered around equity, diversity, and inclusion. She has taken on leadership roles for 3 large-scale EDI-focused research and teaching events at the university, impacting well over 500 people to consider these important issues. She accomplished this during a global pandemic, while herself a victim of sexual assault. Not only did she thrive despite these difficult circumstances, she shared her strength with all of us at TMU. I now invite Allison and President Lashemi forward for the presentation of this award. Congratulations, Allison. So I want you to applaud very loudly for the next speaker, not only because she's an amazing person, but she's my boss and I need to look good. So I want you to welcome now the Provost and Vice President Academic of this university, Jennifer Simpson.
Thanks, Charles. It's really good to be here. Again, I'm Jennifer Simpson, Provost and Vice President Academic. I got to TMU about a year ago, so this is my first graduation as well. It's so exciting, and we're so proud of you, and it's great to be here in person. You have arrived at this day, at this celebration, and at this accomplishment. So once again, congratulations to each of you. As we bring today's convocation ceremony to a close, it's a good opportunity to reflect on the sacrifices and successes that have led you to this moment. We can take a minute to consider the considerable challenges that you have had to overcome. Endless study sessions and all-nighters dedicated to finishing a project or getting through tough exams. You've had to balance extracurricular activities with a demanding academic schedule. And all of this on top of a global pandemic that pushed and challenged you in unimaginable ways. You've also gained incredible things along the way, cherished memories at varsity games and campus events to reminisce about with lifelong friends, and hopefully an appetite for learning to fuel your growth in the years ahead. And every day, again, you showed up, you persevered, you asked tough questions, you challenged the status quo, and you triumphed. This is a day of well-deserved celebration for you and your families. Each of you now are standing at the beginning of your own next chapter. It's likely that you'll experience ahead moments of excitement, frustration, and doubt, of adversity, as we heard earlier. I think all of us have had those moments. I'm just going to recount one brief one from my own story, which is about a year after I graduated, a year after I was sitting right where you're sitting. I was kind of having a moment. What am I going to do next? I had taken an internship. I didn't know if I was going to look for another job or apply for graduate school. I was really struggling. I was having a hard time. And I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to reach out to one of my professors. And I didn't know if he'd remember me, if he'd be back in touch. But he was immediately. He remembered me. He was so glad to hear from me. And what he said to me at that time, I still remember about 35 years later. It was so brief, but so important. He said, whenever you can, follow your heart. So that story, it's what we want you to remember as well. To trust your heart, your own passions and commitments, who you are and what you know of yourself. And reach out for support, because it's all around you. It's here today, and it'll be there going forward. We hope that you can do those two things. We will be excited to hear from you. We hope you continue to ask questions, to keep learning, and to stay open. I'd also like to say a special thank you to all of the family members and friends here in the room and in other places right now who have helped these graduates along the way. The support from all of you has been incredibly important to each of our graduates, and you have contributed to their success in incalculable ways. So thanks again to all of the family and friends. Good luck and congratulations to all of our graduates. We want you to remember one really important idea, that by completing your journey here, you will always be part of the Toronto Metropolitan University family, an ever-growing group of passionate people doing remarkable work in every corner of the world. Good luck with all of your future endeavors, and we look forward to what each of you will contribute to our shared future. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Provost Simpson. I want to take a minute. These events are a big deal to put together, as you know, so I think we should thank the volunteers, the staff and faculty who are here today, who helped make this such a wonderful experience for all of you. Well done. So I hope you're going to party in your own way and celebrate. I think you should really spend some time this weekend giving yourselves a hug of pride and of gratitude and your accomplishment. But first, before we move on and call it a day, if you can, please rise and join Catherine Rowan from the Office of the Dean and the Faculty of Arts in the singing of our national anthem. Following the anthem, please remain standing until all our graduates have left the arena. Thank you for celebrating the class of 2022. Thank you.